Economic downturns and crises are something everyone's familiar with, and are always there to haunt us when things do not go according to plan. Recently, the Federal Reserve of the United States has increased interest rates to the limit, which has made things worse than they ever were before. So what are we supposed to do in a time of global recession? Well, Tesla's CEO and the owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, has got some advice for us. If you're someone who doesn't know how to protect their wealth and investments, or how to get their money to a safe place, watch this video till the very end to find out how you can be your own savior. Some economic experts believe that a huge economic downturn is on its way to get us. And in the same way, Tesla's owner, Elon Musk, has warned us to take precautionary measures before things get too bad. With that being said, what should we do in a time like this? Should we be nervous about the situation? Well, hang in there. We've got you covered, and we'll tell you exactly what you should be doing in this hurricane. The possibility of a recession is undoubtedly terrifying, but even if the United States is set towards one, it's important to remember that no two downturns are the same. A downturn could be brief, like the pandemic-induced one in 2020, or it could be more severe, like the economic tsunami that accompanied the 2008 housing crash. With that said, recently Elon Musk has compared the recent economic crisis of 2023 to the mortgage crisis that occurred back in 2007. In that period, the interest rates on housing prices increased dramatically, making it pretty much impossible for buyers to fill in their dues. This trend saw a peak in 2005, when interest rates shot up and affected the overall affordability of the houses for hundreds of customers. So how did the economic collapse of 2007 start? Cheap borrowing and low lending regulations fostered a housing bubble, which triggered the 2007 financial meltdown. When the bubble exploded, banks were left with trillions of dollars in worthless subprime housing investments. The Great Recession that preceded robbed many people of their jobs, savings, and houses. But things didn't stop there. Loan payments and house sales became even more difficult for those who wanted to meet their needs because of the economic crisis. The demand for new houses was not as high as it was supposed to be. As a consequence of cheap mortgage rates, property prices began to rise in a downward spiral. Even subprime customers, or those with little or no good credit, were able to fulfill their dream of owning a property. The banks then marketed the mortgages to Wall Street institutions who wrapped them into low-risk financial vehicles, including mortgage-backed securities and collateralized debt obligations, CDOs. A large secondary industry for originating and marketing subprime loans quickly emerged. In order to encourage more risk-taking by banks, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, lowered net capital limit for 5 investment banks in October 2004. This enabled them to multiply what they had initially invested by up to 30 or even 40 times. The rates of interest eventually began to rise, and home ownership reached the point of exhaustion. In June 2004, the Fed began hiking interest rates, and 2 years later, the federal funds rate crested at 5.25%, where it stayed until August 2007. Many Americans suffered greatly as a result of this. Their houses were not worth what they had spent on them. They were unable to market their homes since they owed money to their creditors. If they had adjustable rate mortgages, their payments were increasing as the value of their homes decreased. The most vulnerable subprime borrowers were trapped in mortgages they couldn't afford to begin with. Now, how is all of this linked to the current economic situation? The failure of 2 banks, the resulting government actions, and the market's concern about contagion brought back recession fears. Elon Musk has now stated that the most significant upcoming concern is corporate real estate debt stored on the balance sheets of some banks, which could tip the economy into a tailspin. In one of his tweets, Elon said this is, by far, the most concerning issue of all time. He also talked about the mortgages, too. The concerns are shared by others in the sector. Smaller banks, according to a source, own $2.3 trillion in commercial real estate debt, including lease apartment mortgages. According to that, this represents over 80% of all commercial mortgages owned by all banks, citing Trepp statistics. Furthermore, according to KBW Research, commercial real estate loans make up 38% of loan holdings at the median U.S. bank. All of this occurs in the context of Silicon Valley Bank's recent bankruptcy, which many experts attribute to bad leadership and a lack of ability to respond to higher interest rates. At the same time, Tesla's owner Elon Musk thinks that this economic downturn could last for another year and a half. which means that it can extend until the end of 2024 or the middle of 2025. In accordance with the forecasts of the International Monetary Fund, global GDP grew 6% in 2021, but is predicted to slow to 3.2% this year and 2.7% in 2023. This would represent the weakest pace of economic expansion since 2001. According to the Federal Reserve, GDP in the United States will expand by 0.2% this year and 1.2% in 2023. The Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates in an increasingly vigorous manner since the early 1980s in order to combat inflation. When the central bank begins to raise borrowing costs, a recession is generally the result. So what are you supposed to do? Or what should you be doing when you find yourself in the middle of an economic recession? Well, there is a famous proverb that says when an economic difficulty approaches, the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. Right now, you and I are amongst those who are struggling to get ourselves out from such a situation. As per the opinions of different experts, we should always be prepared and ready for anything to happen regarding the economic crisis. In the same context, experts and billionaires like Elon Musk tell us that there are some ways to deal with an economic downturn situation so that you don't have to face much of the problem. One way is to create a crisis fund. Experts recommend saving up for a reserve account to cover your expenditures if you lose your work. A fund of this type should ideally cover 3 to 6 months' worth of spending. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household spends roughly $67,000 in 2021 on necessities such as housing, food, and transportation. As a result, the average household's emergency fund should have between $16,750 and $33,500. So you'll need to consume less and save more if you don't have 3 to 6 months' worth of spending banked up. According to experts, getting a budgeting app may be the best way to accomplish this. These might assist you in better visualizing and prioritizing your costs. Another way to save up more for hard economic times could be reducing your normal outgoings. Thinking about your daily spending can help you save money. This type of workaround usually needs the least amount of effort and yields the most results. Combining your car and house insurance, finding a cheaper mobile or broadband plan, reducing the amount of streaming services you have, and cooking your own coffee and lunch instead of purchasing them every day can all be quick wins to decrease daily spending. Instead of keeping all your eggs in one basket, you can look for additional ways to make more money. This will eventually help you when you face an economic downturn, and will also reduce the consequences of possibly being laid off, as you'll be working multiple jobs. Finding a supplemental job is the easiest way to bring in more revenue if you have the time, according to the experts. The adverse consequences of recession, such as lower income and more unemployment, may not be apparent for several months. That gives you plenty of time to develop a new, monetizable expertise. Learning search engine optimization, content writing, and user interface design, for instance, are skills in high demand among businesses and provide several possibilities for freelance work, which can also be helpful in saving up many of your costs, which is eventually beneficial to survive in an economic downturn. Elon Musk is the latest business tycoon to raise concerns about the economy, and despite his prediction, he has done several layoffs in his company Tesla before the upcoming economic crisis. This was a move of his which he describes as pretty bad, as he did the opposite of what he said to do. Tesla is also further foreseeing new layoffs in the adjacent quarter. So, don't you think that having multiple sets of skills might be helpful at a time like this? Let us know what you think about the 2023 economic crisis. Also, if you found this video informative, hit the like and subscribe button. And don't forget to turn the notification bell on so you never miss out on trending videos in economics. Thanks for watching.